With the first season of Daryl Dixon now over, we move back to Fear the Walking Dead as it goes into its final 6 episodes. In a previous video on the channel, I did give my thoughts on that first half of the final season, and my thoughts were mostly negative towards it because this show, I really haven't enjoyed it since season 3. I think the first 3 seasons of Fear the Walking Dead were decent and quite enjoyable, and some of it was actually better than some of the main show, but since then I've really not enjoyed it apart from a few little ups here and there in the season 5 and season 6, but otherwise it's been pretty dire. So how did episode 7 turn out? Well, as we saw at the end of the last episode, Morgan has left the show for good, and so the focus of the story now goes back to Madison. However, in that first half of the season, there was nothing really built up for her, so this story is sort of all being plucked out of their ass because, you know, it's like you're forgetting a friend's birthday party, you have to go through their address book and just invite some random people to make an event. It's really a bit like that here, where we're sort of getting Strand back into it, we're getting Troy in the bloody show, which I'll get onto a bit more later, but it really is a bit of chaos, and yeah, it's a bit of a struggle to watch. If you happen to watch my Daryl Dixon videos, I did go into quite some depth in terms of those episodes, but this episode of Fear, there's mainly just some moments and a few character things I want to talk about, but not much else other than that. Now with Daryl Dixon, as it was set in France, of course there were plenty of subtitles. Now I don't mind subtitles myself, but I know many people who don't. And so you can see quite a few people thinking, oh look, Fear's coming back on TV soon, I can watch that without any subtitles. Well, unfortunately for you, you're going to have to listen to a lot of German. Son of a bitch! And the reason for this is because we find out Strand has reinvented himself as Anton, and he's got his new life with his German family. It's funny, I did learn French and German in school, but after watching these 2 shows, it's shown that I didn't really learn them very well. Anyway, back on the episode, and we see that Strand has himself a new tower with this hotel, and we see that all the German people are there because when everything went down in terms of the apocalypse, they were on their travels in America. When Strand and Madison reunite, Madison points out to Strand's partner and son that he's living a double life, that he is in fact Victor Strand and not Anton. While recovering in the hotel, Madison has a conversation with Strand's son Klaus, and Klaus eventually takes Madison away when the group who are after her come to the hotel. The reason the group are in the hotel in the first place is because Strand leads them to her because Strand doesn't want his new life to be destroyed by Madison's troops. And then we get into the bulk of the episode, which is basically people trying to find Madison and Klaus, whether that be Strand and his partner, or this new group looking for Madison, or Daniel and the others. During this, there's a conversation between Strand and his partner Frank, where Frank explains how in his past life and his past relationship, he was able to eventually come out and be his true self, and Strand can do the same sort of thing here by showing himself to be who he really is. The 2 of them find Madison and Klaus, and Madison goes with Strand so we can get a few back and forths, and so Strand can talk a bit about Alicia. There's an action scene with some walkers in a library, and then they get caught by the group and get sent back to the hotel where they're tied up, and we see the boss of this group, who happens to be Troy Otto. After taking a hammer to the head in season 3 by Madison, which we all thought was the end of this character, we find out that in fact he only got blinded in one eye. And when they showed the hammer on him, I did giggle a bit because I was like, why has he got the hammer? What? First of all, him being alive in the first place really is, like I said at the start of the video, plucking things out of their ass, because it's like a bad soap opera where these characters come back from the dead sort of thing. I mean, what's next? No, Travis is going to come back? You know, that was all apparently just a Skyfall thing for him, was it? Secondly, he wants to find Padre's location because Madison took his home and he wants to take her home. Again, really bloody crap. I just like, also, why? How has this happened? Is the country the size of a town? How are people finding each other like this? I mean, it's the same with, you know, Dwight and Morgan and, you know, all them reconnecting as well, but it's just, what's going on? Like, you can sort of let a little bit slide, but it's just, there's so much getting packed on top of each other with this show in particular, where it's like, I can't handle how ridiculous it is. Daniel, June, Sherry and the others burst in to save the day, so they win this round, but before Troy goes, he reveals that he has the arm of Alicia, and that's because apparently he killed her.
Bollocks! 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 Bollocks!
Yeah, that has to be complete bollocks, because with Madison and Alicia, those two reuniting is the only thing going for the show to give it a proper happy ending from where we started out in season 1. And I think they will go for that. I mean, The Walking Dead loves a lovely reunion between characters, so why would they say no to this one? And so that comes the end of the episode, and we get a little preview for the remaining 5, which look to be a bit more action-packed. And like I said, you know, now the party's here, it's all chaotic, but at least now we can watch it unfold, and hopefully we have some fun with it, because yeah, the show has been on a big decline, but it did have a good start to it, and so it'd be great if it can finish on a positive note. And speaking of positives, I will shout out the episode's director, which happens to be Danae Garcia, who plays Lucy in the show. So that's pretty cool that she got a chance to show her directing talent here. But yeah, that's just my quick thoughts on this episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I'm not sure if I'm going to do videos for every episode. It really depends on what the content is within them. If it's worth talking about for a link for a video, we'll find out. But yeah, if you want them, let me know in the comments below. And also let me know your thoughts on Troy Otto returning, and what do you think of this season so far? Do you think it's going to end on a high? But for now, if you fancy another video, on screen is a review for Killers of the Flower Moon.